Hey, good afternoon, folks. Chris here with Green Bar Trading, also known as Ghost of GBT on Reddit. Thanks for tuning in once again for a weekly charting and technical analysis video. Going to get started with CHK long this week, and then we're going to go through the top 10. Just going to try to make this quick because I got to go out and do some last-minute Christmas shopping. Hope everyone's having a good holiday season so far. But let's get started. CHK long. Okay. CHK long. So this is in a bit of a pullback at the moment. What was this day here? Looks like there's a big gap up and fade. I think this was the day that oil gapped up a lot. Yeah. That was on the 12th. So, I mean, CHK, there's nothing special about this thing. It's not that I wouldn't long it. It's not that I would long it. You just see this big options expiration spike at the end of the day. This was on a lot of stocks, so this is insignificant. You know, the volume is meaningless there at the end of the day just because it was options expiration. So it is kind of sitting on the $7 support. Doesn't look bad, doesn't look great. I don't see any reason, you know, unless you're just going to buy it and hold it for several days to, you know, maybe make $1 a share or 75 cents a share. It doesn't look explosive, I guess is my point. What I would be interested in is seeing what it does at $8, because that's obviously a big level for it, is $8 right there. So that's what I'd be watching for. Right now, it just looks like it's kind of in its same up and down motion that it's been in for the last 6 or 7 months. So I wouldn't touch this right now personally. There's nothing really wrong with it. I mean, if you want to buy it and put your stop loss under $7, there's not really, it's still good risk versus reward, but it's not going to, you know, be a super explosive stock. So I wouldn't personally touch this one right now, but that's just my opinion. Next up, Coke. So one of the other people in the thread mentioned that this thing has like 4 billion shares in the float, which is true. And again, same thing you see here, right, with the options expiration volume at the end of the day. There's no real momentum in this stock, right? This isn't a momentum trading stock. That said, the pattern is not terrible, but what are you going to do? Make $1 a share on it? I mean, it's a $40 stock, so it ties up a lot of buying power just to make a couple bucks a share. So for me, this one's not really worth trading unless it has some sort of a catalyst like earnings or something like that. Right now, it's just kind of in the same, you know, there's nothing special about it. What I like to look for is excessively high relative volume. See how the volume now is just kind of flat? There's no indication that this thing has any momentum in it. It's just doing its normal thing, which is fine, right? That's good if you want to just buy and hold it forever. But I'm looking to make short-term gains, quick short-term gains. So what I want to see is something like this, where there's a big, very obvious volume spike and the stock has a lot of momentum. Or like ETRM. I mean, ETRM's a, you know, piece of crap penny stock, but the volume pattern is kind of what I like to look for on better stocks, where you get this big influx of buying and selling. So I don't see that right now on Coca-Cola. I don't see anything special about the pattern, and it's got a ton of shares in the float. So this is just a, you know, buy and hold type stock for me. It's not a trading stock. Let's check out Seagate, STX. So this one is not terrible if it comes over like $41, but it had this big sell-off on Friday. So, you know, where's your indication of strength? There is no indication of strength. If you were to ask about it over here, then I would say, yeah, this looks good because it's giving you some kind of an indication of strength. Even though the volume's not that great, it's giving you at least some sort of indication of strength. But you can see that it tried to break through that $41 level and it failed. And so it seems like maybe what we need to watch for is once it gets back up to $41, watch for a setup there. You know, watch for it to coil into some kind of a pattern right underneath $41 and then go for the 41 break up towards, I don't know, 44 or something along those lines. But for right now, just kind of sitting there. Next up, GoPro short. So GoPro is fundamentally, in my opinion, GoPro is definitely a short. The problem with it right now, I think, is that the easy money's gone, right? If you wanted to short it, you needed to catch it intraday, like up here in the 950 area. Now, you kind of missed that fallback. So the easy money is sort of gone. It ran right into this resistance here, like 950, 975. And once it hit that, it just completely rejected it. And you're right, it was a short, but it's probably not a short anymore unless it comes back up and, tries to reject that level again. So I think in this case, you had the right idea, but unfortunately, it looks like you maybe just missed the trade. And that's going to happen a lot. So, don't worry about it. But I don't know. I don't really see anything special in this right now. Maybe I'm just kind of in the sort of holiday mode right now where the market's real slow and there's not, a whole lot of opportunity out there aside from just stuff that has news each day. So I haven't been really trading a lot. And, that might be coming through in some of the opinions that I'm giving on these trades. But I'm right now, like during the holiday season, I tend to stick to stuff that only stuff that has a PR or only stuff that has like some sort of a big catalyst to get it moving, because otherwise you just get these failed breakouts and you get shorts that bounce as soon as they break through their major support levels and all that kind of stuff. And it just doesn't really, there's not enough volume in the market to really make stuff work well. So to account for that, I trade stuff that has much higher volume, that has some kind of a catalyst. And I don't see catalysts on any of these things. I mean, GoPro, what was the news on this thing? Was there any news on it? Just the standard stuff, it looks like. I mean, there's no like obvious reason that this thing spiked the other day. Yeah, I don't see anything. I would tell you if I did, but I don't see anything in any of these so far. Next up, Ford Long. Gonna guess this is also a no-go just because of the name. Yeah. Once again, no real volume, no real pattern on the chart. The stock has billions of shares in the float. 3.89 billion shares in the float, right? So it takes like an act of God to get enough volume to really move this thing. There's just so much supply. So I don't see anything in this right now. What I'm looking for when I'm looking for quick short-term trades is stuff like what you'll find on the top gainers list on FinViz. If you look at any of these charts, it doesn't matter what the chart is, right? Look at the excess volume. The stock normally does 152,000 shares in a single day. On Friday, it did 8 million shares. So that's the kind of momentum that I want to see in order to make quick short-term gains. EGLT, same deal. Normally does 550K. Friday, it did 3.2 million. So you see this gigantic spike in the volume. That's what you want to see on the daily chart, not just at the end of the day because it's options expiration Friday, but you want to see it on the daily chart, right? So if Ford did 200 million shares on Friday, then I'd say there might be something interesting going on, but it didn't. So there's no reason to really trade it. It's just going to oscillate in its normal range and do its normal thing. So anyway, that's just a quick tip, I guess. If you're looking for ideas, look at the top gainers and even the top losers list. Will tend to have the stuff that has excess volume on it, so that you can, find something that has some actual momentum behind it that's actually giving it a reason to move. Next up, XXII. So this one, I know in the recent past has had some pretty strong volume. This is kind of bouncing off its 200-day moving average, but again, the volume, there's no indication of strength. It's just fizzling away. So all these stocks are kind of these little small cap cheapy companies. They're all kind of, garbage for the most part. And so unless there's some momentum behind it, like there was over here, it's just going to fizzle away and fade back to where it came from. So you might see, this thing pop around $1 or something like that, but where's it going to go? $1 to $1.10. That's great, except it doesn't do enough volume for you to really get shares that would making 10 cents worth it. You know what I mean? So it's tough to trade these unless they have a lot of volume like this. So the primary thing that I'm looking for right now in the market is just volume. And I have not seen that on any of these ideas so far. So don't take it personally, just that I'm a picky trader right now. Pharmaceutical is another interesting one. So now this one, even though the pattern does not look all that exciting, we can see, let's remove this 200-day moving average just so we can expand the chart a little bit. So even though the pattern is not that great, it's just kind of downtrending, we have seen in the very recent past a big influx in volume. So I think, if you want to buy this thing right now and set your stop loss under these recent lows here, like maybe 130, and then go for a potential 165, 170 break, then, I would say this potentially has some potential. It did have a nice volume spike on Friday, but unfortunately it looks like all of that was just due to the options expiration. You can see 500,000 shares out of the, what was it? 1.2 million. So 50% of the volume, from Friday was just that options expiration stuff. So, or rebalance or whatever it was on Friday. I don't remember exactly what it was, but there's a lot of these big spikes at the end of the day. So that said, the volume is sort of deceptive, I guess, right now, but it is low risk if you can grab at 140 and put your stop loss at 130 and go for a potential break of 165, 170. Then you've got a really nice trade because your potential reward is up to $1.80. So you're risking 10 cents to make 40 cents if it really takes off. And then if it gets going sort of into this gap over this big level here at $2, then it could really get moving and into the gap and all that kind of stuff. But for right now, just kind of, it's questionable, I guess. What I would like to see on this is for it to tuck up against this like 155, 160 area and set up some kind of a pattern there rather than anticipate it and end up getting stuck waiting for the thing to break out for 2.5 or 3 weeks, because that's most likely what's going to happen if you buy it now. Okay, next up, PI, and then we have FANG, and then PNNT. PI, FANG, PNNT. Okay, so this one's not too bad. It's kind of interesting. Is this an IPO? I only have a little bit of data on this. Either this is an IPO or it's some kind of a spin-off. This sounds familiar to me for some reason. RFID. So the company's founded in 2000. I wanted to say that this was a spin-off from another RFID or another semiconductor company, but I don't remember for sure. Anyway, that's kind of irrelevant. I was just curious why I don't have data back from before July of 2016. But that aside, the volume overall is a little bit light on this. It looks like it only does a few 100,000 shares a day. However, I do like this daily pattern. So it has this nice flag that's developing, which is not terrible. If we go to like a 30-minute or 60-minute chart, you can see the resistance a little bit better. Looks like it's around 34.50 is the spot. So if it could break over 34.50, then I would say this is potentially a go. 34.77 high there, 34.57, 35.75. So you should at least get a run from 34.50 up to like 36. And if it really gets some juice behind it like it did over here, then you might get up to 37 and might potentially get this big breakout here around 38, which would be the ideal situation. Whether or not that happens is to be seen. But it looks good. I like the volume pattern on it. You can see it did have a little bit of momentum recently. It had this push and now it's consolidating. It's holding these new support levels here around $32. The only question, I guess, would be where do you put your stop loss? And if you wanted to be real tight with it, I guess I would say, buy 34.55 and set your stop loss just under 33.50. So you risk $1 with the potential to hopefully get up to at least 37. It should give you like $2.50 in gains. And then if it breaks out above 37, 38, then, you're up into the 4-to-1, 5-to-1 area. But right now it's a little bit light on the reward to risk. But it's not bad. It's the best one I've seen so far. So I do like that. I like the fact that it closed sort of on its highs and it closed right into this resistance level at 34.50. So I would be interested in watching that 34.50 level just to see what it does there. FANG. Diamondback Energy. So it looks like there might have been some block trades in this thing. There was a definite volume increase, and this was on Thursday, so this was potentially not related to the options expiration. Looks like they had news. So they did a secondary offering here, upsized $500 million offering of 5.375% senior notes. So they're selling a little bit more stock. It's a little bit of dilution. I don't know what the terms of the offering are, but you can see it gapped down. That was the reason for the gap down, but it did come right back, so that's sort of a bullish sign. I don't really like this pattern. I mean, it's just sitting here in the bottom of its channel. It's not a bad spot to buy it, but again, it's not a momentum stock. It's just going to kind of oscillate back and forth in this channel. So I wouldn't personally trade this. The pattern's fine. The risk is low enough, I guess, but you're going to buy a $100 stock. I'd rather buy something like Alibaba that's actually going to move a lot. So I wouldn't personally touch FANG, but the pattern is not terrible. And then last up, PNNT. There's no range on this thing. I mean, Friday had a high of 787 and a low of 780. So, where's it really going to go? It pops 10 cents or 20 cents. It's not really worth it. If the stock was 50 cents a share and it was going to pop 10 cents, then that's a lot different than a stock that's $8 a share that's going to pop 10 cents. So, again, I've shot down a lot of these ideas just because they're not my style of trading. If you guys have watched these videos for a while, you probably know I trade momentum stocks. I don't trade, the grandpa stocks like Ford and Coca-Cola and Microsoft and those types of trades. I don't trade those because they don't tend to move that much. What I like to do is look into the top gainers and top losers list, and I find the ones that closed at or near their highs that can potentially continue higher, or if they're up too much, if they've gone up 5, 6, 7 days in a row and they're still closing on their highs, then I start thinking in terms of the short side. So that's what I usually shoot for. I like to look for this stuff like STV, shady Chinese digital television company, right? That's just got like a little volume spike. It's just starting to break out. It has a history of making these big moves. Like over here, it went from $1.10 up to $1.60 in just like a couple of weeks. These are the types of stocks that I usually trade because those are the ones that are going to make you fast money. VRS, here's another one, just trying to break out over $7. It looks like the volume is not great on this actually, so let's nix that one. But, you know, when's the last time you saw Ford make a 50% move or Microsoft make a 50% move? You're never going to see that because there's just too much float. So just a little, I guess, tidbit of information for everyone watching. This is normally how I find my ideas, is I look through the stuff that's in play, which is the stuff that's going to be in this FinViz top gainers and top losers list. It doesn't necessarily have to be a top gainer. It can be a top loser as well. You know, you find, I don't know, something like this CBIO, for example. This still has a big gap to fill from 87 cents down to 57 cents, right? So a 30-cent gap on a 90-cent stock. You know, this thing could fall 30 or 40% in a single day. So this is a potential short. You've got all these shipping companies, DCIX, Cino, Dries, ECs, you know, all of these shipping companies. They're all momentum stocks. The first time they get any little hint of volume, they all take off and go crazy. So, you know, this is the type of stuff that I trade. It's not the big name Apples and Microsofts and Hewlett Packards and those types of companies, just because they don't move that much. So I think we got through the top 10. Let me just count just to make sure I'm doing this fairly. So 1, skip USO, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so I did get through the top 10. There are some other ideas on here. If I didn't get to your idea, just post it in the comments on the YouTube video, and I will respond at some point, you know, this week in the comments. I just want to keep this short just because I got to go do some Christmas shopping. So again, like I always say, guys, I'll leave the link to my blog and my newsletter and all that stuff, which is completely free. You're welcome to sign up for those if you want. And I send out ideas for stuff that I'm trading rather than analyzing the stuff that you guys are sending me. Those things will always be in the video description. So feel free to sign up for those. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.